Michael Hayes sat on the edge of his bunk, boots still on, helmet resting on the floor beside him. The base was awake even though the night had settled in. Radios murmured somewhere down the corridor, metal doors clanged softly, and distant engines hummed like they never truly slept. He reached up and touched the small calendar pinned above his locker. One date was circled, the ink worn thin from being traced again. Emily's birthday. He stared at it for a long moment, then lowered his hand and exhaled slowly, as if steadying himself for something that hadn't happened yet. He picked up the leave form from the desk and filled it out carefully, his handwriting slow and deliberate. Rank, unit. When he reached the final line, he paused for a second before writing the reason. Daughter's birthday. Nothing more. No explanation, no justification. He folded the paper neatly, slid it into the tray outside the office, and walked away without looking back, already knowing how easily that small request could be denied. The rejection came quickly. Leave denied due to operational tension. Michael read the line once, then again, as if it might change. It didn't. He folded the paper slowly, his jaw tightening, a quiet worry settling in his chest. The situation on base was clearly worsening, and somewhere far away, a birthday was approaching without him. That night, after duty, he stepped outside into the cooler air and called home. Emily answered, her voice bright at first, then quiet as he explained. He told her the situation was tense, that leave wasn't approved, that it wasn't a choice. There was a small pause on the line before she spoke again, softer now. "So you're not coming?" she asked. Michael closed his eyes, gripping the phone a little tighter. "I wanted to," he said honestly. "I really did." She didn't cry or argue, just said, "Okay," in a way that sounded older than it should have, and when the call ended, the silence around him felt heavier than the noise of the base ever had. The knock came late, long after most of the base had settled into uneasy silence. Michael was sitting on his bunk when the door frame filled with a familiar shadow. His senior stepped inside without ceremony, glancing around before closing the door behind him. "Couldn't sleep?" the man asked. Michael shook his head. "Not tonight." They stood there for a moment, the hum of the bass pressing in. Then the senior spoke again, quieter now. "Your leave request," he said. "Daughter's birthday." Michael's shoulders tightened. "Yes, sir." "How old is she?" 9, Michael replied. "Tomorrow." The senior nodded slowly, leaning back against the wall. "My son just turned 9 last month," he said. "Still remembers every time I missed something important." He paused, then reached into his jacket and held out a folded paper. Michael stared at it before taking it, unfolding the page with careful hands. Approved. Effective immediately. For a second, he forgot how to breathe. "Pack light," the senior said, "you leave at first light. We'll manage here." Michael swallowed hard. "Thank you, sir." The door closed behind the man, leaving Michael alone again, but everything felt different now. He sat down slowly, staring at the approval as if it might disappear. Sleep didn't come after that. He lay awake, watching the dark fade toward morning, his mind racing ahead. He pictured the school hallway, the sound of her voice, the look on her face when she saw him standing there instead of a phone screen. He planned it carefully, no call. No warning. Just him, in uniform, walking in when she least expected it. When the first light crept through the window, Michael was already on his feet, heart pounding, not with fear this time, but with something dangerously close to joy. Michael arrived at the school just after the first bell, the building already alive with footsteps and distant chatter. He paused at the entrance, adjusting his uniform once, more out of habit than necessity, then stepped inside. The familiar smell of polished floors and paper slowed him for a moment. This place belonged to ordinary days. That was why it mattered. At the front office, he introduced himself quietly. The secretary glanced up at him, then at the uniform, her expression shifting from routine to curious respect. Moments later, he was guided into the principal's office. The principal stood to greet him. "How can I help you?" she asked. Michael spoke plainly. He explained the posting, the rejected leave, the late approval. He told her it was his daughter's birthday and that he wanted to surprise her. No announcement, no disruption. Just a moment. Just him. The principal listened without interrupting, her expression softening as he finished. "She's in class right now," she said. "We can make this work." She gestured toward a chair. "You're welcome to wait here." Michael nodded and sat down, hands resting on his knees. From where he sat, He could hear faint voices passing in the hallway. Every sound pulled at him. Every second felt longer than the last. He pictured her sitting at her desk, unaware, counting down the hours the way children do on birthdays. He imagined the moment she would look up and see him standing there instead of the empty space she expected. For the first time in days, the tightness in his chest eased. Whatever happened next, he was here. And this time, he wasn't leaving through a screen or a goodbye whispered into a phone.
The principal excused herself, saying she would make the arrangements quietly. The door closed behind her, and Michael was left alone in the office, the ticking wall clock suddenly loud in the stillness. He remained seated, eyes drifting toward the window, listening to the distant rhythm of the school continuing as normal. The door opened again, sooner than expected. 2 men stepped inside. They didn't look like parents or staff. Their clothes were mismatched, their expressions sharp and impatient, eyes scanning the room as if measuring it. One of them closed the door behind him. Principal stepped out. The taller one asked, already moving closer to the desk. Michael didn't answer. He straightened slightly, watching them. The principal returned moments later, stopping short when she saw them. "You can't be here," she said firmly. "This is a school." The shorter man dropped a folder onto the desk. "Sign the bills," he said. "Today." "I won't," the principal replied without hesitation. "These documents are forged." The man's face hardened. "You're making this difficult." He reached out, grabbing the edge of the desk, leaning in too close. The other man stepped toward her, blocking the door. That was when Michael moved. He stood up calmly, placing himself between them and the principal. "Step back," he said, voice steady, unmistakable. The taller man scoffed. "And who are you supposed to be?" Michael didn't answer. The man swung first. Michael caught his arm mid-motion, twisting and driving him down into the desk with controlled force. The second man lunged, but Michael turned, locking him and forcing him to the floor. Chairs scraped. Papers scattered. The struggle was brief and decisive. By the time the noise reached the hallway, it was already over. Security arrived, followed quickly by police. The 2 men were pulled to their feet and led out, shouting fading as the door closed behind them. The principal steadied herself, breathing hard. She looked at Michael, disbelief giving way to gratitude. "You protected us," she said quietly. Michael adjusted his uniform, expression calm once more. "I was just here for my daughter." Michael waited outside the classroom, the sounds of children inside rising and falling like waves. His pulse thudded in his ears, louder than any drill or command he'd ever followed. The door opened, and students began filing out, laughing, talking, unaware. Emily stepped out last. She was smiling at something a friend had said. Then she stopped. Her smile faded. Confusion crossed her face. Then recognition. "Dad?" she whispered. Michael opened his arms. She didn't hesitate. She ran, crashing into him, arms wrapping tight around his waist as if letting go might make him disappear. He knelt instinctively, holding her close, breathing in the familiar scent of her hair. "You're here," she said, voice shaking. "I promised I'd try," he replied softly. "This time, I made it." She pulled back just enough to look at him, eyes shining. "I thought you wouldn't come." Michael swallowed. "I always want to come," he said. "Always." She hugged him again, tighter than before, and for a moment the hallway felt like the safest place in the world.
The next morning, the school gathered in the assembly hall. Teachers guided students into neat rows, whispers buzzing through the room. The principal stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. "We talk a lot about heroes," she began. "Often, we imagine them as characters in stories. But real heroes don't wear capes. They wear responsibility." She paused, letting the words settle. Some protect classrooms, some protect communities, and some protect entire countries, often from very far away. Students sat straighter now. "Today," she continued, "we are honored to have someone from our armed forces with us. Someone who reminded us yesterday what courage looks like." She turned toward the side of the stage. "Emily," she said gently, "your father is here." Michael stepped forward. The applause that followed wasn't loud or wild. It was steady, respectful. Emily stood taller than ever, eyes fixed on him, pride written across her face. Michael took a breath before speaking. "I'm not very good at speeches," he began, earning a small smile from the crowd. "But I know how to tell the truth.
I love my daughter more than anything, he said, looking directly at Emily. Every day I'm away, I carry that with me. Every birthday, every missed moment, it stays with me. My job asks me to stand somewhere else when I'd rather be home. It puts my country in the center of my life. But that doesn't mean my love becomes smaller. It means my love has to be stronger. He paused, voice steady but full. I serve so children like her can grow up safe. And no matter where duty sends me, my heart never leaves her side. Michael looked at Emily and smiled. Some days I wear a uniform, he said, but every day I'm her father. The room was quiet for a moment before applause filled the hall. Emily didn't clap. She just watched him, knowing, without doubt, that she was never second in his heart.